You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So before we begin, I got a busy day today. This rising anti-Semitism is driving me crazy. And hearing this Cornell student who turned down an internship because he didn't want to work with Jews. For those of you out there that don't want to associate with the Jew or Jews, you might want to stop using Google. You might want to turn off your Bluetooth. You might not want to reach for that aspirin. You might want to rethink taking an antibiotic. You might want to then, if you really, really don't want to associate with Jews, avoid getting the chemotherapy for your cancer. Avoid getting dialysis. Reject the pacemaker. Put down that ballpoint pen. Do you know how many things that you are using every day that was invented or associated with a Jew? When you're snapping pictures on your phone, you realize that technology was designed by a Jew. I mean, if you really, really don't want to associate with Jews, you might want to go live in a cave. You can't have it both ways. You can't be a racist, anti-Semite, discriminatory piece of crap, meanwhile enjoying and benefiting off of using your Bluetooth and Google and all these other things. And getting your vaccines. It's ridiculous. Going back to this Cornell student, okay? This kid's a piece of work. Austin Franco apparently applied for a summer internship with VRYFID, or VRYFID. This startup was founded by the Einhorn brothers, who actually are Jewish. But the Cornell student turned it down. All right. And he wrote back after he applied for the summer internship, not interested in working for a Jew. Apparently, this company links renters with landlords using a system aimed at preventing fraud. It was co-founded by Gabe and Aiden Einhorn, and they are described proudly Jewish. Good for these guys. 19-year-old Franco was from Virginia, contacted them through an online job board handshake. When he got responded back, I mean, look at how all these young people can barely get a response because of AI. He actually got responded back and offered the internship to come in for an interview. Instead, he turns around and says, no, not interested working with Jews. His experiences with Jews have not been pleasant. Now, there's been, a lot of now back and forth on this. You know, have I ever had an experience with a Jew that was not pleasant? Yes. Are there some Jews on this planet that I do not want to hang out with? Yes. Are there some Christians, Muslims, LDS? It's ridiculous that, somebody may have a faith and that then stereotypes a whole population of individuals. All right. There are so many people. I've had predators. I've known so many different people of so many different faiths and creeds and nationality. I'm going to stop associating with white people because somebody who was white wronged me. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And, when you look at the people don't understand that, they think that they're anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist and anti-Jew and anti-whatever they think is now the, soup of the day, in terms of now we're seeing such a huge rise in anti-Semitism, and people aren't even hiding it. Well, then, if you really, really are true to the cause, turn off your computers. Stop using your phones. Just to kind of take a look at some of the accomplishments here. Artificial kidney dialysis machine created by chemist Willem Kolff. He is also a pioneer in artificial organs, chemotherapy, George Hitchings, streptomycin, an antibiotic that we have used and helped make other antibiotics. Selman Waksman, our polio vaccine, Jonas Salk. Bet you didn't know. Your TV remote control, your USB flash drive. Don't even get me started on Albert Einstein and the theory of relativity and all the other things that have been designed as a result of his work in physics. Programming languages like BASIC, your TCP IP protocols that power the internet, designed by Robert Kahn. I mean, if you're really, really that anti-Semitic and you don't want anything to do with the Jew, go back to paper and pencil, not ballpoint pen, because the ballpoint pen was also invented by a Jew. Our Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, which we really rely on to an obsessive degree. Broadcom co-founder Henry Samueli, key innovator in that. Your blue jeans, Levi Strauss and Taylor Jacob Davis. Your blue jeans. Take off your blue jeans. Take off a lot of your clothes then. Your TV remote control by Robert Adler. Ballpoint pen was from Hungarian-Argentine journalist Laszlo Biro. Our traffic light. Garrett Morgan patented what we now have today is that what was designed off of a T-shaped traffic signal. Garrett Morgan. If you go to Walmart or go to a grocery store, you might want to rethink grabbing that shopping cart. The shopping cart was designed by Sylvan Goldman. Don't be, talking to me about Marvel movies and because Stan Lee, Jewish. Steven Spielberg, Jewish. It's. I'd really like to see what what these anti-Semites are doing. Did you know that the barbecue Texas brisket was invented by an Ashkenazi Jew? Yeah, your barbecue. They say here that historical food research attributes the method of smoking beef brisket in Texas to Ashkenazi Jewish butchers who were able to design barbecue pits, etc. And Barbie. Before you guys drool over Margot Robbie, Barbie invented by a Jew. 1-877-Dolly, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
We're back on the Dr. Dali Show, 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So over the past few years, there's been a lot of discussions on men being in women's bathrooms and how appropriate or inappropriate it is. It's a woman's safe space, but apparently we haven't really had a lot of, shall we say, patient education as it pertains to what if you're a dad with two daughters and you need to take them into the restroom? Do you take them into a men's restroom or a female or a women's restroom? If I was a dad and I had two girls and I had to take them into the bathroom, I would take them into the women's. If the women's room was empty and there was nobody there, I would open the door, keep the door open, the main door open. All right, so they don't feel like they're walking into a closed facility with a guy there. I would have my girls in the bathroom. I would stand near the door telling any woman about to come in, I got two daughters in here. I'm just keeping an eye on my daughters. And I would, if I was a dude, I would use the female bathroom for, my two young girls. Well, me being a mom and my boys, I always took the boys in and taking boys into the girls' bathroom, it wasn't an issue. You might have an occasional woman go, where's their dad? Why isn't their dad taking them into the men's room? I go, they're coming with me into the bathroom. It's not a big deal. But for the most part, it was understood. You had to take your kids with you. That's just what you had to do. But when you're a dad and you got daughters, do you take them into the men's bathroom? Or do you utilize a female bathroom that's unoccupied? So apparently a man got yelled at and screamed at because he went inside a gas station's women's restroom helping his two young daughters. Now, a customer at this gas station started to scream and yell at him. And it was in a social media post, Starkville, Mississippi-based Overstreet Properties said that they saw the videos of one of their employees. And it's somebody who I guess worked as an independent contractor for the firm and says that the conduct depicted in the video does not reflect the values of Overstreet Properties or standards we expect of those who represent our organization. Apparently they fired him because this was somebody who, unidentified, but he's in the video, kind of yelling and screaming at a dad who was just trying to take his kids, into the bathroom. This is according to Fox News and TMZ. Now, the video was captured by Tyler Brodsky, an Oklahoma dad traveling with his two daughters. Brodsky had stopped at a Quick Trip gas station in Alabama, took his daughters into the women's restroom. Moments later, the video shows a man yelling and demanding to leave the facility. Brodsky said, I knocked and announced I was coming in with two girls, which at this time the bathroom was empty. This guy comes in, starts yelling, demanding that we need to leave. I should have taken them to the men's restroom, and that he should have taken the men's restroom, disagreed. He said, I've personally been in men's restrooms. I just don't feel like it was a good place to take two little girls. I agree with him. So I guess this man was yelling and screaming and, went off. The daughters start to cry at this whole ordeal because they think now their dad's in trouble because of them, because they had to go to the bathroom. And then a Quick Trip manager eventually closed the door. On the shouting bystander apologized actually to the dad of the kids because Quick Trip understood. They had some common sense of what was going on. And, this video has gone viral. I think police officers actually arrived on the scene. Somebody called police officers because he was a dad. And I feel for dads. I really, really do. Now, I understand that there's some real, real bad people on this planet. I've seen bad moms. I've seen bad dads. But the average dad is trying to figure out how to navigate bath time with their kids, navigate clothes shopping, navigate. And it's like the first thing people think when they see a man and daughters is that they're a predator. This is what gets me about these bad, sick individuals that ruin it for the rest of us. Just like the first woman who claimed she was raped when she wasn't. Now it ruined it for everybody who's ever been attacked because people will say, but you could be lying about it. And boy, did a lot of people lie Especially that was what was so troubling about the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was supposed to be very, very helpful to individuals feeling like they can't talk about what happened to them. And then all of a sudden you had everybody try to get their 5 seconds of fame going, well, me too, me too. And it went the wrong direction. So, people always ask, and I'll have dads ask me, look, when do I stop bathing my daughter? When does my daughter bathe by herself? Mom and I are separated. You have a lot of men where the mom isn't there, and they are the ones that need to take on the, especially if the mom doesn't have custody. They're the ones that have to do the bathing, buy the tampons, I'm like, look, you need to be a dad first. Okay, screw society. If your daughter needs anything, and anything medical, if she has, a cut, something, if you are her dad, okay, and you being her dad, that doesn't imply you're doing anything sexual. Of course, there are certain inappropriate behaviors that some people have done. You don't do those behaviors, but if your daughter needs to go somewhere like to a bathroom and you don't feel comfortable them going by themselves. Unfortunately, if the women's bathroom is, full, many men will take their daughter into the men's bathroom. But that is a little frightening, especially if, now you're outnumbered. Some men don't feel comfortable with other men looking at their daughter trying to use the bathroom, not to mention, and women's bathrooms are dirty too, but some men's bathrooms, if the little girl goes, ooh, this is gross, I don't want to be in here, that could cause some drama. And interestingly, a lot of men, try to find a female counterpart that they could, use for their daughter. In fact, very interestingly, I don't have the statistics on this, but one thing I have seen is that many men will enter after a divorce a relationship a lot quicker than they wanted to, because they have a daughter and they feel like there's certain things they aren't allowed to do in raising them, and that it's safer to have a woman around so people don't think there's anything inappropriate. That's very I don't have the statistics on that, but if men fear being a single dad, they're going to be accused of something. They need a witness. And in fact, in custody battles, I've heard of cases where the other spouse tried to claim that, and people will usually believe it until you're guilty until proven innocent. And this isn't the most pressing problem in the world, but for those dads out there who are like, look, I struggle. I'm a single dad. And I'm trying to raise a daughter, or raise daughters, and society is not really helping me here. So you got to do what you can. But like I said, if you have to take your kid to the bathroom, that comes first. Open the door, let them go in. Hopefully they're not too young where they can actually go into the stall themselves. All right. You could also let an employee know. I think that's also great. Get more witnesses. Get a camera. Have, everything cameraed. Don't ask a strange woman to watch your kid. I know I've seen men do that. I've actually been asked, and I say fine, obviously, because, I can be trusted. But these are the things that, men are kind of dealing with. So what I would do is, let the gas station know, I got 2 daughters. I'm going to take them into the bathroom. I'm going to take them into the girls' room. All right. Can I leave the door open? Can you let people know? But at least let them know so they know what your intent is. This way, somebody doesn't start to mace you or spray you when they see you. And then you could leave the main door open, let them go in, close their individual stall doors, let women know, I'm going to leave. I just have my 2 daughters in here. Also, what I like about the main door being open is you still have privacy in the stalls, although I've been to gas stations where there's absolutely no door on the stall, which really, really stinks. But it happens. But a lot of times I go into a bathroom with the main door wide open. I gotta go. Because like somebody's cleaning, you have like the custodians clean the bathroom and they're like, well, we don't want you in here. And I'm like, I got to go in there. Sorry, tough. And so that could also kind of help protect you a little bit. And then you stand there and you could stand like just outside. I don't know. It's ridiculous that this is a conversation we have to have. You're a dad. You need to be able to be there for your kids. Help them, wash up, do what they need to do. But in this day and age, people are so freaked out. Why? Because there's been assaults in bathrooms. There's been really, really bad people. Those real bad people rooted for the rest of us. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, Fine Farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We're back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So, I watch what's happening with Harvard and some of these other schools, and I see what happens with medical schools where people are kind of falling upon all over each other on how to do the grades, even with grade schools and middle schools. Should we give everybody an A? Are we giving out too many A's? Should we cap the A's? I think Harvard wants to cap the A's where only 20% of the student body will get one. Maybe it's to spurn competition. And I just think they're going about it all wrong. Just to kind of recap here, I think Harvard College voted to cap A grades in its undergraduate courses. No more than 20% of the grades given for any course is going to get an A. You could get A minuses, you could get B's, C's, D's, no restriction on that, but they're going to cap it at 20%, which is, I think Princeton tried to do that in 2014. Wellesley College did that, and in 2019 they had to stop, because that just, Harvard thinks they're going to be able to do this. I think at Princeton, from 2004 to 2014, they mandated a cap of 35% of the entire range of A grades. And then the policy just fell through. The faculty voted to rescind it. And then I guess they're not bringing that back. So what's going on here? Well, I think the colleges are trying to figure out, and they're doing it poorly, how to make people stand out. How do you make an applicant stand out academically? And if they feel like, everybody's getting A's, then they, feel like then the A isn't worth it. The problem is that's not what school is supposed to be about. All right. And maybe it's because I taught in medical schools and I taught medical students for years. For me, the teaching is about the proficiency. It's not about the grades. And so for me, if a medical student missed any of the questions or didn't know how to do the procedure, then that's on me. I need to make sure they know how to do it. You can't give a grade of an A, B, C, D, or F when you're inserting a catheter. You have to insert it right all the time. You can't do it. Well, you did a 80% good job, or well, you got the urethra. I mean, you can't put in a central line and grade on that. You can't deliver a baby and say, well, you know what? I'm going to give you a 75%. You got to do it right. And you got to always shoot for doing it 100% correctly. Now, in medical school, when they're doing their biochem and their pathophys and anatomy, we have grades, where, okay, well, if you call that if you call the pseudostratified columnar epithelium something different, and you mixed up the epidermis and the dermis, we'll give you a point off, but overall you need to get a passing score. I'm not a big fan of that, because if you're doing any sort of dermatology or family medicine, you really need to know the difference between the epidermis and the dermis and the subcute layer. You need to know that. You need to understand what cells are responsible for each. For pharmacology, how do you let any medical student pass without ensuring that they understand the pharmacology and the drug side effects? Okay, you are not supposed to, mix, let's say, anti-inflammatories with ACE inhibitors, because it could bottom out your glomerulus of your kidneys and the filtering. Because you have one that dilates the afferent arteriole, one that shuts off afferent, bottoms out the efferent, shuts off the afferent. Anyway, there's a mechanism in play. And if you don't understand that, you could hurt the patient. You can't mix Zofran with Lexapro. You can't use nitroglycerin with Viagra. You have to be 100% on. And so my thinking of what these universities should do is test for proficiency. None of this, well, you got 70%, because, I remember I would take like there would be like 20 questions. And I'm like, okay, well, I can miss 4 to get an A, or I can miss, that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's how we turn schools into it. But for medical school, if somebody missed questions on the test, I wanted to make sure that they knew why. I'm going to re-ask the question. I'm going to reteach that information. Now, where are the blood vessels? When you insert a chest tube, is it above the rib or below the rib? Where is the vein, artery, and nerve running? So you don't hit that when you insert the chest tube. They have got to know that answer. If they know that answer, they pass. So, and I know some teachers are out there going, Dr. Dahlia, you're not going to be able to have every student get 100%. But any question that gets missed, you don't want to just pass them and have them keep going. This is the problem we're having in school right now. Colleges are getting these kids, including Harvard, going, these kids don't know math. Why? Because somebody passed them. I don't know how they passed. Nobody ensured that they knew the basics and the building blocks and built on top of that. So these students end up failing, and then their failure rolls into bigger failure. It rolls into bigger failure. And so, teachers, since they're so busy and overwhelmed, like, did they get an A? Okay, they got an A, they're good. And maybe, like I said, maybe it's because I taught medical students. I had to make sure they really understood, because if not, they could kill a patient. I think we really need to go for proficiency. So let's say you're teaching writing, creative writing. What are the things that every creative writer needs to know? Then you teach that, and you make sure they're proficient in that. Look at the copyright laws. You know how many different intellectual property and copyright nuances there are? If you have a creative writer and they do anything to violate that, they're out of a career. So don't just test them on an A, B, C, D. You need to make sure that they don't violate, because one violation can put them out of their career. I mean, this is common sense. So they really need to go for proficiency. The problem is, if you go for proficiency, that makes the teacher's job harder, because now they got to make sure every student understands the material. Now, when I was actually teaching at a medical school, the majority of the students did really well on my tests. And so people thought, well, that's because she's easy and she loves the students so much. She doesn't want to fail anybody. No, I tested them on material that they had to know. and they had to be proficient in. I didn't test them on esoteric stuff. So if you're going to be taking a history of a patient, if you're going to be asking this is something you have to do 100% of the time. And so when I tested on that, I made sure everybody knew what the hell they were doing, because otherwise they'll hurt a patient later. And it wasn't really that hard to do. If you teach what needs to be taught and not extraneous BS, if you make sure they get the breadth of everything that they're supposed to get from that class, they understand, what happened. Let's say you're teaching history and you want to make sure that they know roughly the year, who was king at the time, what were some of the takeaways. That's what you test on. And then, yes, if everybody passes, that means you ensured that they learn the material. When somebody gets an F, it could be they're lazy, it could be they don't understand, or it could be you didn't teach. So the idea of Harvard cutting off A's, I get if, there's some demand for, well, I want to know what your GPA was at Harvard. But I would rather the demand be for, I want to know that, you know how to do deductive reasoning, and you know how to conduct a scientific experiment, and you understand the laws of physics. I don't need to know if you got an A, B, or C. If you got a B, C, D, or any of those, it means you didn't learn all the material. So I want to see that you got an A, not by a teacher that just did an easy test, but that you're proficient. So I would say go for proficiency. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. Because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. We'll help you find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. If you were hurt in a car accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, rideshare accident, slip and fall, or any other type of accident, call our 24/7 hotline now and let us help you find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-978-6800. That's 800-978-6800. 800-978-6800. I'm Gina Hart, here with spokesman Jack Mercer. So Jack, tell our listeners who should give us a call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me join you here in the studio. It's always great to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. The call is free, the consultation is free, and with our no-fee guarantee, you pay nothing unless we win you money.
That's great advice. Thanks, Jack. And is it true that the Legal Help Center is open 24/7?
That's right, Gina. We're open anytime you need us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident of any kind, call now and let us help you find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-978-6800. That's 800-978-6800. 800-978-6800. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. Not available in California. May not be available in all states.
On the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Medical mishaps are a big concern. We are being told that in some statistics, over 800,000 medical mistakes are being done, causing major patient harm a year. And that is very, very concerning because I work every day to make sure not one single mistake happens. And to think that there's hundreds of thousands being reported that are being done, you wonder how many are not being reported. We talked about that in vitro fertilization mishap where a couple got the wrong embryo. The child was 100% South Asian to the Caucasian couple, and they wanted to keep the baby, but the biological parents are like, but that was our embryo. So apparently they came up with a custody deal and all that. But yeah, the fertility clinic in Florida is closed since then. But you're thinking to yourself, what's going on here? Now here's another issue, or here's another case where Newsweek is reporting a woman got the wrong medical treatment and then has a catastrophic side effect. So TikTok user Katie Shepard explained that she underwent 58 electroconvulsive therapy treatments. She received she ended up then losing her memory. Now, electroconvulsive therapy has actually been very effective in treating drug-resistant depression and PTSD. She said, however, it made her worse. And she's now concerned whether if she was misdiagnosed. She says, I'm 29 years old and I don't have a single memory from before I was 26. She says she doesn't remember world events like 9/11, no memory of COVID. She said she went to a friend's wedding, but didn't remember anybody there. That's kind of frightening. Now, she said, I do want to say that I have friends that have done ECT and it's completely changed their lives and helped them. For me, it just became another traumatic experience and literally erased every memory from my entire life. What was her diagnosis? Well, she says in a follow-up video, her actual diagnosis was bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. But she said that they chose this because they were trying to treat untreatable depression. Now, we have seen ECT work well in people with depression. Many people with bipolar also have depression. People with PTSD also can have depression. So I don't know if she was officially misdiagnosed, because depression could be a part of that. But she feels that the treatment hurt her, and it sounds like it did, especially if she doesn't have memories. In fact, a 2025 study found that many ECT patients do experience some level of long-term memory loss. Newsweek is reporting that they have found an increasing number of Americans under 40 reporting memory loss and struggling with focus. And a patient who has traumatic brain injury, shared their experience, feels they don't feel human anymore because they're forgetting things. And so some people are wondering, is ECT effective because it helps erase memories and helps erase some of the memories? That's not the plan of ECT. ECT is to kind of jumpstart some of the neurons and dopamine and things like that and help brain stimulation. But the erasing of post-traumatic memories might be a unintended consequence, which might help some. But unfortunately, if you had trauma, it'll still affect you. So when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, or if you were traumatized, it might not be a memory that triggers you. It's very interesting. I would never consider myself having the diagnosis of PTSD, even though I had a lot of traumatic things happen to me. But I was in the car, and there was a song that came on. And I can listen to any music. The blues, country, barbershop quartet, classical. I like all music. But I don't know what the song was. And it was a song from decades ago. And it bothered me. And I said, can we turn off the radio? Can we turn it off? And my husband looked at me like, because I've never asked him to do that. And he's like, does that song remind you of your past? I go, I don't have a memory of what that, but for some reason, I don't feel good with that song. And so even if you might not connect the memory, your body has another type of memory. So that is interesting. So these ideas like ketamine and things like that are amnesia causing may help some, but it might not necessarily help Oh, everybody. So, people were telling her to sue. And again, if she was drug resistant and suicidal and they found that ECT could offer an option and she underwent 58, my guess is they might have moved forward because she felt like it was offering her some help, but then she ends up losing all her memory. I'd like to know a little bit more about how this happened. But the moral I want to make is, whether it's a medical mistake or it's a side effect, there needs to be a lot of education given to the patient. There has to be a lot of discussions. I am noticing that many people feel rushed into making a decision. I'm not saying this is what happened with her. But every time I had surgery, they would very clearly tell me I could die. They're about to roll me into the OR, and I may not be coming out, even though it was an elective surgery. And, then you start to worry, and but they made that clear because my doctors were good. And to do informed consent, you really need to be thorough with that. And you need to explain, look, this is, these are the risks. And there's a lot of risks with any medication you take or any procedure that you do. This is why kids looking at transgender transitioning aren't really capable of giving informed consent, because how do they know what they want in terms of fertility or bone density later, or blood clot risk, or cancer risk, or heart changes in the heart structure? How do they understand that and grasp that? And so as a physician, you can't just use, all these fancy terms. You need to explain, what could go on and why. And some patients will say there's too many side effects. I don't want the medicine. I don't want to do it. Okay, that's fine. Absolutely fine. That's your decision. But if it's emergent and you have cancer, we do have to give you the benefits and the risks. These are the benefits. These are the risks. My recommendation to you all is be as educated as you can going in. Be careful of misinformation online, but research what it is that you are considering. Research your options. Look and see what other patients have said. I understand that there's a lot of, misinformation on these reviews, like Yelp and things like that. An ex-boyfriend or an ex-wife doesn't like you, they're going to be bad-mouthing you. But if somebody says, look, I had this procedure and this is what happened, and then you hear somebody else say, yes, this is what happened also, you could talk to the medical provider about what's going on. So like with Chantix, Chantix for smoking cessation has a risk of sometimes suicidality. Well, we're thinking one of the, one of the culprits in that, or something that might increase your risk of that, is if you're not using it exactly the way it's supposed to, where you quit smoking 7 days in and you don't go back to nicotine and you use that as opposed to you mixing nicotine with it. And so let the doctor explain what's going on. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can speak with a live agent right now. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident of any kind, call now to find out if you have a case and how much you could potentially get.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-679-0800. That's 800-679-0800. 800-679-0800. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.